The alarm cut through the ship before I even opened my eyes, and I knew something was wrong before my feet hit the floor. Not the kind of wrong you fix with a wrench, the kind of wrong that makes your whole body go cold before your brain even catches up. I am Daniel Ashford, engineer on a small salvage ship called the Wandering Fox, and 3 hours earlier, I had been muttering to myself in the engine room, complaining about a stuck coupling like it was the biggest problem in my life. Now the biggest problem in my life was standing in the doorway, and she was not human. Her name was Vela, tall, pale blue skin, eyes too large and too calm for comfort, and a voice that came out half a second late, like it was arriving from somewhere far behind her mouth. "I heard everything, human," she said. I did not know what she meant at first. Then I remembered. The muttering, the complaining, the words I thought no one else could hear. "You were listening," I said, my voice tighter than I wanted it to be. "I was not listening," she said. "I was recording. Every word, every breath. And now my people want to know what you meant." That was when the ship shook, hard enough to throw me against the wall, and every light on the Wandering Fox turned red at once. We were not alone in the dark of space anymore. Something had found us, and it was pulling us in. I grabbed the railing to steady myself and looked at Vela. She was not scared. She was watching me, studying me, like she was waiting to see what I would do next. "What is happening?" I said. "Your ship has been caught," she said, "by a signal net. My people use it to stop ships from running. It will not let go until we decide what to do with you." "Your people," I said. "You mean the ones you work for?" "Yes," she said. "The Koran Alliance. They do not trust humans. They think your kind is dangerous, reckless, unpredictable. And after what I heard you say tonight, they may be right." I did not have time to argue with her, because the lights flickered again, and a low humming sound rolled through the walls, the kind of sound that meant something outside was getting closer. "We need to move," I said. "Now." "Move where?" she said. "There is nowhere to go. The net holds the whole ship." I was already running toward the control room, my bare feet slapping against the cold floor, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Vela followed, faster than I expected, her long legs covering the distance without effort. The control room was small, packed with screens and blinking lights, and every single one of them was showing the same thing. A wall of energy, wrapped around the ship like a fist closing around a small stone. "Talk to me," I said, dropping into the pilot seat. "What does this net do exactly? Does it crush us? Does it pull us somewhere?" "It pulls," Vela said, "to a checkpoint station 3 hours from here. Once you arrive, they will decide what happens to your crew." "Decide what?" I said. She hesitated, just for a second, but I caught it. "They will study you," she said. "Your species, starting with you." My hands were already moving across the controls, flipping switches, checking power levels, doing everything I could think of to buy us time. The engines groaned under the strain of trying to pull away from the net, but nothing happened. We were stuck, like a fish caught on a line, and the line was getting shorter every second. "There has to be a way out of this," I said, more to myself than to her. "There is no way out," Vela said. "The net was built by people far more advanced than your kind. Nothing breaks it."
"Nothing built by your kind, maybe,"
I said, and for the first time since she appeared, something changed in her face. A flicker of interest, maybe even curiosity. I remembered something from years ago, a story an old engineer told me back on Earth, about a ship that got caught in a similar trap and escaped by doing something no one expected. Not by fighting the net head-on, but by feeding it too much power at once, overwhelming the signal instead of trying to break it. It was a long shot. It could also fry every system on the ship, but sitting still and waiting to be studied was not an option I was willing to accept. "Vela," I said, "I need you to trust me for the next few minutes." Trust is not something my people give easily, she said. Then don't trust me, I said. Just don't stop me. She did not answer, but she also did not move to stop me, so I took that as the closest thing to permission I was going to get. I rerouted every spare bit of power from the life support backups into the main engine core, watching the numbers climb higher than they had ever climbed before. The whole ship groaned around us, metal creaking like it was in pain, and somewhere deep below, something started to smell like burning wire. This is not safe, Vela said, gripping the edge of a console as the ship shook again. No plan today is safe, I said. Just hold on. The net outside pulsed brighter, reacting to the sudden burst of energy pouring out of our engines, and for a moment, I thought I had made a terrible mistake. Then the pulse turned into a flicker, and the flicker turned into static, and the wall of energy around the ship began to bend, like it was struggling to hold its shape. It is reacting to the overload, Vela said, her voice rising with something that almost sounded like excitement. You are confusing it. Good, I said. Confused is exactly what I want it to be. I pushed the engines further, past every warning line on the display, past every safety limit the ship was ever built for. Sparks flew from a panel near my feet, and somewhere behind us I heard a loud pop, followed by the sound of a system shutting down completely. But the net kept flickering, weaker each time, like a light bulb about to burn out. Almost there, I whispered, not sure if I was talking to the ship, to Vela, or just to myself. Then, with one final pulse of power, the net broke apart entirely, scattering into streaks of fading light across the black sky outside our window. The ship lurched forward, suddenly free, and I grabbed the controls just in time to steady our path before we spun out of control. Silence followed. Real silence, the kind that feels louder than any alarm. Vela stood there for a long moment, staring out at the empty space where the net used to be, and then she turned to look at me with an expression I had not seen on her face before. You should not have been able to do that, she said quietly. Probably not, I said, letting out a breath I did not realize I had been holding. But here we are. My people built that net to be unbreakable, she said. It has held ships far larger than yours, from species far more advanced than yours, and you broke it with nothing but stubbornness and a burned-out engine panel. That is kind of our thing, I said, managing a tired smile despite the shaking in my hands. We don't always have the best tools. We just refuse to stop trying. She was quiet for a while after that, watching me check the damage on the console, watching me work through the mess of wires and broken panels with the same tired patience I had shown hours earlier over that stuck coupling. When I heard you talking to yourself earlier, she said finally, I thought I was listening to arrogance. A creature bragging about its own species out of nothing but pride. And now? I asked. Now I think I was listening to something else, she said. Something closer to truth. Your people speak about danger the way my people speak about the weather, not because you enjoy it. Because you have lived so close to it for so long that it no longer frightens you the way it should. I looked over at her, this alien woman who had walked into my ship as a stranger, maybe even as a threat, and was now standing beside me after we had both nearly been pulled apart by a trap neither of us built. For what it's worth, I said, I'm glad you didn't turn me in the second that net grabbed us. I considered it, she said, and there was the faintest trace of something like humor in her voice. But I wanted to see what a human does when there is no way out. And what did you see? I asked. I saw someone who refused to believe there was no way out, she said, even when every system, every rule, every piece of evidence told him otherwise. The ship drifted quietly now, engines cooling, lights slowly turning from red back to a calm, steady white. Outside, the stars stretched out endless and silent, as if nothing dangerous had happened at all. So what happens now? I said. Do you report this to your alliance? Tell them what you saw. I will report it, she said, but not the way they expect. What do you mean? She looked at me, calm again, steady again, but there was something new behind her eyes now, something that had not been there when she first appeared in my doorway. I mean, she said, that maybe it is time my people learn the truth about your kind, not the exaggerated stories, not the fear, the truth. That humans are not dangerous because you seek to destroy. You are dangerous because you refuse to be defeated. I did not have a clever answer for that, so I just nodded, feeling the tension of the last few hours slowly drain out of my shoulders. Come on, I said, standing up from the pilot seat. Let's go see how much of this ship we actually have left. Vela followed me out of the control room, her footsteps steady beside mine, and for the first time since the alarm had woken me from sleep, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay.